Now that the 2018 NBA draft is over, I figured I'd make a video giving each team a grade for their performance in the draft. The Raptors and the Heat didn't make any selections, so I won't be covering them. If you haven't already, go watch my previous two videos about my thoughts on the lottery picks and all the trades to get a better understanding for this video. Now this video will only have 14 teams, hence the part 1 in the title, because the analysis just got too long for each team in one video. So without further ado, here are my grades for each team. The first team up is the Atlanta Hawks. Now the Hawks made 2 trades and 2 more selections on draft night. The Hawks traded Luka Doncic to the Mavs in exchange for Trae Young and a future protected first-round pick. While I of course think Doncic is better than Trae Young, I think the first-round pick next year from the Mavs is going to be between 6 and 10, which makes this trade a little bit better. Now I said this in one of my previous videos detailing each trade, but what I think happened is the Mavs valued Trae Young almost as high as Doncic and figured they wanted him anyway, so they might as well do what the Celtics did last year and trade down and receive a first-round pick in the deal. Overall, I'd give this trade a B for the Hawks. Now the Hawks also selected Kevin Huerter with the 19th pick. Huerter is a 6'7 guard/forward with a 6'7 wingspan. He's a fantastic shooter, can score the ball somewhat effectively, and an average defender already, and I'd give this pick a B. With the 30th pick, the Atlanta Hawks selected Omari Spellman. Spellman is a 6'9 power forward with a 7'1 wingspan. He can stretch the floor, is a great rebounder, and an above-average defender, and I'd give this pick an A-. The Hawks then traded Devonte Graham to the Hornets for their 2019 second-round pick and their 2023 second-round pick. The pick should be around 31 to 36 if the Hornets trade Kemba, and around 40 to 45 if they don't. I think they'll trade Kemba, so I really like this trade, especially since the Hawks already traded for Trae Young. I'd give this trade an A. Overall, for the whole draft night, I'd give the Atlanta Hawks a high B+ as their grade. The Boston Celtics only made 1 selection on draft night. The Celtics stood pat on draft night despite lots of speculation of them moving up into the top 5 to try and select Mo Bamba. They had the 27th pick in the draft, yet were able to get a consensus top 20 talent and maybe even a top 15 talent in Robert Williams. Williams fits their team, and this pick was an absolute steal. Because of this, I'm giving this pick an A+, and since this was their only selection during draft night, their whole draft gets an A+. The Brooklyn Nets had 2 picks during draft night, the 27th and the 40th picks. With the 27th pick, the Brooklyn Nets took Zazen Musa. Musa is a scoring machine and is being compared to fellow European Bojan Bogdanovic. I do like this pick, as Brooklyn's wings aren't score-first players, and I'd give this pick an A- because of that. With the 40th pick, the Brooklyn Nets selected Rodions Kurucs. Kurucs is a 6'9 athletic wing who can score, but struggles defensively. I was a little surprised at this pick, as the next 3 players drafted after him, Jared Vanderbilt, Bruce Brown Jr., and Justin Jackson, would have fit better in my opinion. I'd give this pick a C because of that. Overall, for their performance in the draft, I'd give the Nets a low B for the night. The Charlotte Hornets made 2 trades in this draft and had no selections. The Hornets traded Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to the Los Angeles Clippers for Miles Bridges and 2 future second-round picks. Bridges is a 6'6 wing with a 6'10 wingspan. He's a solid shooter and a pretty good finisher inside, while being a pretty good defender as well. Now, I'm not that big a fan of this trade, as I think Gilgeous-Alexander fits better on their team. Also, I think that they need a guy with lots of potential, as they don't have any star power for the future, and Gilgeous-Alexander has more potential than Miles Bridges. Because of that, I'd give this trade a B-. The Hornets also traded their 2019 and 2023 second-round picks for Devonte Graham. I actually really like this trade because the Hornets need a point guard regardless of if they trade Kemba or not. The second-round picks will hurt, but I think it's worth it. I'd give them an A- on this trade. For the whole draft night, I'd give the Charlotte Hornets a B overall. The Chicago Bulls had 2 picks in this draft, number 7 and 22. Now, the Bulls needed a center and small forward coming into this draft, and managed to find both. With the 7th pick, the Chicago Bulls selected Wendell Carter. Now, I think Carter is the perfect front court mate for the Bulls, as he pairs very well with Lauri Markkanen. He can stretch the floor and also mask Markkanen's defensive struggles. Now, I would give this pick an A because of that. With the 7th pick, the Bulls selected Chandler Hutchinson. Hutchinson is a 6'7 wing with a 7'1 wingspan. He did just turn 22, and he's a bit too small at only 195 pounds. However, he's pretty good at everything else, and most importantly, he's a really good scorer, and I think he fits very well on the Bulls. And I'd give this pick an A- because of that. The Chicago Bulls made two very smart decisions on draft night, and that's why I'm going to give their whole draft an A. The Cleveland Cavaliers only had one selection on draft night, but it was the 8th overall pick. With the 8th pick, the Cavs took Collin Sexton. Sexton was probably the second best player available, who still has lots of potential. Personally, I think a player with more potential, like Kevin Knox or Michael Porter, would have been better, but I think both of those players would have been reaches. The plus side with Collin Sexton is that he already gave his pitch for LeBron to stay in Cleveland, and I gotta say, it's absolutely mind-blowing.
Make your pitch to LeBron James to stay in Cleveland with you.
Man, LeBron, let's do it. Let's do it. I see you need a few pieces, that one extra piece this past season. Hey, let's do it. Let's go back to the finals. Let's do it.
I gotta say, that man has a way with words that just really speaks to the heart. And I'd give this pick an A-, and since it was their only selection, their whole draft gets an A-. The Mavs had a very busy night, making 2 trades and 1 selection. The first trade was Trae Young and a future protected first-round pick for Luka Doncic. I thought that this was a great trade, as Doncic could easily become the best player in this draft, and I'd give this trade an A. The Mavs also held the 33rd pick in this draft and selected Jalen Brunson. Brunson is a 6'2 point guard with a 6'4 wingspan. He is near perfect in every aspect of the game except on defense. He's at best an average defender and just not big enough to switch or defend anything other than point guards. Still though, I'd give this selection an A-. The Mavs also traded Shake Milton to the Philadelphia 76ers for Raymond Spalding and Kostas Antetokounmpo. Raymond Spalding is a 6'10 power forward with a 7'5 wingspan and already a good rebounder and defender with lots of potential. Thanasis Antetokounmpo is a 6'10 forward with a 7-foot wingspan and freakishly athletic. However, though, he's just below average at everything else basketball related. Still, though, he has lots of potential. Shake Milton is a 6'6 point guard with a 7-foot wingspan. He's an elite shooter, a pretty solid passer, and an average defender while having lots of potential. Still, though, the Mavs don't need him as they previously selected Jalen Brunson. I'd give this trade an A. Overall, for the Dallas Mavericks, I'd give their draft performance an A. The Denver Nuggets made 2 selections and had 1 trade on draft night. They took Michael Porter Jr. with the 14th pick in the draft. Now, it's hard to say how bad his injury really is, but I think the Nuggets needed to take a risk on a guy if they wanted to compete. Had they gone with a player like Zaire Smith, I think they would have at best gotten the 4th or 3rd seed in the future, but never been good enough to make the championship. With Michael Porter's potential, I think they do have a chance at a championship in the future. However, his back issues seem worse than we thought, so I'm going to give this pick an A-. The Nuggets then traded Justin Jackson and a future second-round pick to the Orlando Magic for Jared Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is a 6'9 forward with a 7'1 wingspan. He's probably the best rebounder in the draft and already a pretty solid defender. Justin Jackson is a 6'7 wing with a 7'2 wingspan. He's a solid defender and shooter and already a future 3-and-D player in the NBA. Now, I don't think giving up the extra second-round pick was worth it, so I'd give them a B- on this trade. With the 58th pick in the draft, the Denver Nuggets took Thomas Welsh. Welsh is a 7'1 big man with a 6'11 wingspan. He can score inside and outside and defends nicely as well. He is, however, already 22 and a half years old, which is a major concern. I'd give this pick an A-. Overall, I'd give their draft performance a B+. The Detroit Pistons had 1 pick in this draft and made 1 trade. The Pistons traded 2 future second-round picks to the Philadelphia 76ers for Kyrie Thomas. Thomas is a 6'3 guard with a 6'10 wingspan. He's a great shooter and a good defender. Now, I think the 2 second-round picks might be a bit much, but I'm still okay with the trade. I'd give the Pistons a B on this trade. The Pistons then selected Bruce Brown Jr. with the 42nd pick in the draft. Bruce Brown Jr. is a 6'5 guard/forward with a 6'9 wingspan. He's a great passer, rebounder, and defender. He is, however, going to be 22 this summer, and he's not that good of a scorer yet. Still, though, I'd give this selection a B+. Overall, I'd give the Detroit Pistons a high B for the whole draft. The Warriors only had one selection in this draft, but managed to get a steal. With the 28th pick in the draft, the Warriors selected Jacob Evans. Evans is a 6'6 guard/forward with a 6'9 wingspan. He's a great defender, and he's good at pretty much everything else. The only knocks on him are that he's already 21, and he's not that good of a rebounder for his size. Still, though, this is a fantastic pick, and looks to be a key bench piece on the Warriors for years to come. I'd give this pick and their overall draft an A+. The Houston Rockets made one selection and one trade on draft night. They selected DeAnthony Melton with the 46th pick in the draft. Melton is a 6'3 guard with a 6'8 wingspan. He missed his entire sophomore season for allegedly taking money to go to USC. He's a very good defensive player and a solid rebounder and playmaker. However, he didn't score or shoot the ball well in his freshman season. Now I'd give this selection an A-. The Rockets then traded cash to the Utah Jazz for Vincent Edwards. Edwards is a 6'8 wing with a 7-foot wingspan and a prototypical 3-and-D wing. He shot 40% from 3 and is an average defender. Now that Ariza is looking for more than $10 million a year, he's probably gone, and Vincent Edwards is a great replacement. I'd give this trade an A+ for the Rockets. For the whole draft, I'd give the Rockets an A. The Indiana Pacers made two selections on draft night. With the 23rd pick in the NBA draft, the Indiana Pacers took Aaron Holiday. Holiday is a 6'1 point guard with a 6'6 wingspan. He's a fantastic scorer and an incredible shooter while still being a solid playmaker. He's an average defender at best, and he does turn the ball over too much. I think he'll limit turnovers now that he's not the primary option, though. I'd give this pick an A. With the 50th pick in the draft, the Pacers selected Alize Johnson. Johnson is a 6'9 power forward who is a great rebounder, but he's only an average scorer, an average shooter, and at best an above-average defender. And I'd give this pick a C+. Overall, I'd give the Pacers' draft performance a B+. The Clippers made one selection and made one trade on draft night. The Clippers traded Miles Bridges and 2 future second-round picks to the Charlotte Hornets for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now, the Clippers have no long-term option at point guard, and Gilgeous-Alexander is an intriguing prospect. He's a 6'6 point guard with a ridiculous 7-foot wingspan. He's an okay scorer, a pretty good defender, a solid passer, and a solid shooter. His decision-making needs some work, but that is sure to improve in the NBA. I'd give this trade an A. With the 13th pick in the draft, the Clippers selected Jerome Robinson. Now, Robinson is an extremely talented scorer and a solid playmaker, but his skills directly overlap with Austin Rivers and even more so with Lou Will. I'd give this pick a C-, especially because Michael Porter Jr. was drafted one pick after him. For the whole draft, I'd give the Los Angeles Clippers a B. The Los Angeles Lakers had 2 picks in the draft. The Lakers' first selection was Moritz Wagner with the 25th pick. Wagner is a 6'11 big man with a 7-foot wingspan. He's an excellent shooter, shooting 40% from 3, and a good scorer around the basket. However, he isn't that athletic and struggles defensively because of it. Personally, I think Robert Williams is the much better player, and while Wagner fits a bit better, I still think he was the wrong choice. I'd give the Lakers a C+ on this pick. With the 47th pick in the draft, the Lakers took Sviatoslav Mikhailiuk. Mikhailiuk is a 6'8 guard/forward with a 6'5 wingspan. He's one of the best shooters in the draft, shooting 44% from 3. He's not that good of a defender, though, mainly because he isn't that athletic. I'd give this pick an A-. Overall, I'd give the Lakers a low B on their draft performance. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. Those are my draft grades for the first 14 teams. I'll have the next 14 teams out tomorrow, which is June 26th. Leave a like if you've enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and comment down below what your draft grades would have been for these teams.